All right, good morning. Welcome to the February 24th, 2026 APFA Retirement Seminar. Hey,
Good morning, everybody.
this is,
Kim Tech, National Retirement Specialist at APFA.
and I am Patrick Hancock, the APFA Retirement Specialist Emeritus.
Woohoo!
Woo! We always give a shout out to Ron Harris. Hey, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Yeah.
You.
We do. And his incredible talents are responsible for a lot of the graphics and visuals and information that you will see today. Hope you're doing good, Ron. So that's who we are. Who we are not is we are not the company. This is a union meeting. And I have been a union rep for way too many decades and have developed a rather cynical viewpoint of our company management.
No.
Yes, I don't know how that happened, but yeah. So if I say something about the company management that offends you, truth hurts. Hey, so we are not the company. We are also not your financial advisors, and you will need a financial advisor. We will say at least 7 times in the course of this presentation, you need a financial advisor. So do go get a financial advisor. We're also not your attorneys. We're not your Medicare advisors. We're not your Social Security advisors. And the fact that those positions even exist mean that you may want to look into it because you may or may not need them. All right, so that's who we are. Who are we as a membership? Well, as of we updated it.
We updated it. Yay.
Wow, as of
the latest and greatest.
Yeah, February 2026, we have 27,752 members. Of that number, how many do you think are over the age of 80? Age 80 or older? No, you're wrong. It is 43. We have 43 active flight attendants. Well, as active as you can be over the age of 80.
Stop it.
Stop it, Patrick.
More power to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And every once in a while, I manage to get on one of the big girl trips. And I tell you, by and large, they are some of the best flight attendants out there. Anyway, so that's age 80 and older. Look at the distribution on this, 75 to 79, get down to 70, 74, we got 865 to 69, 2,525, which used to be the biggest. Oh, no. And then when we get to 60 to 64, we've got 5,000. And believe it or not, that is the biggest bucket that we have if you divide by this age cohort. Going on through the rest of it, find yourself in there.
Where are we?
And then, I mean, it gets really thin there for a while, and then picks back up when you get down into the 30s, down into the 20s.
The 20s, it's not as many again, but the 25 and up is the 25 to 50 is probably the biggest group out there.
Absolutely. Over 55, we've got 12,060, and under 55, 15,692. So, and 55 is not the mean of that group. So we tend to be a more senior group. And if it feels like that APFA and the company are spending a lot of time and resources on helping people get ready for retirement, that's why. It is so important to so many of our members. Maybe 45 somewhat % of our members are eligible for retirement today. So take comfort in knowing you're not alone in this journey.
No. And if you're a junior, you want us to help the people that are eligible to retire. So.
You don't get more senior by people staying on. So, Kim, what can you tell us about housekeeping?
Okay, so housekeeping. The Good Slide handout follows our presentation today. So if you have a copy of the Good Slide handout, you can follow right along. There's been a few revisions, and I am going to post an updated version of the Good Slide handout on the website today. And if anyone has been waiting for one in the mail, it's finally been revised, so it will be going out today as well. Questions, you can submit them via chat. The Good Slide handout has a lot of very useful checklists. So if you're planning to retire in the next 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, basically it's going to cover you and tell you what you need to do. So if you don't have the good slide, let me know. You can email me. And you can get a contact list of all the useful information, and the most useful contact of all, which is what I was getting to. You can email me at retirement@apfa.org and let me know, and I will mail you or email you, give me your preference, a copy of the retirement packet. So what does retirement really mean? That's what we're here to discuss today. Basically, it's broken into three components, one of which is medical benefits. The next is retirement benefits, such as your travel. That's really the main retirement benefit left these days after multiple bankruptcies. And pension and 401k benefits, but we kind of have to flip that around. 401k, everybody has. Pension, not necessarily. So for most of us these days, the 401k is going to be our primary source of retirement income. If you're more junior and you're thinking about wanting to retire early before, a certain age, or you have some goals and stuff, you really need to be contributing to your 401k because that's going to help get you there. Also, the medical benefits we refer to as the incredible shrinking basket. Due to those bankruptcies, our retiree medical benefits are not what they once were. And you can pay for really expensive medical benefits, which we'll cover later in the presentation. But this is the main driver for most of us waiting for Medicare until we retire. So the important questions you need to ask if you're considering retirement are, what do you need to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? That's a biggie. And what else do I need to research? There's always a bunch of little details that you didn't think of, and we're going to cover some of those at the end of our presentation. So what do you need to retire? Well, you need to be eligible. You need money. That's huge. I keep saying that, but I can't say it enough. And you need to be ready mentally to retire. So lots of people are saying, oh, I'm ready to retire, I'm eligible, but I love my job, I'm not ready to leave yet. So, but I talk to people every day and they say, when you know, you know. So once you realize that you're ready to retire, you will know it. So eligibility, in order to retire, you must have at least 10 years of company seniority based on your date of hire, and your age plus your company seniority must equal 65 or more. That's what the company refers to as the 65-point plan. And there is actually a 65-point plan calculator available on JetNet. If you scroll down below all the fluff and articles and pictures of ISOM doing cool stuff, you'll see team member services. And under that, there are little boxes about different subjects, pay and 401k, health and benefits, and you'll see retirement. Click on that and you're going to see a bunch of different options, one of which is the 65-point plan calculator. You can plug in your name and your employee number and it will tell you whether or not you're eligible to retire and when you will be eligible to retire. So it's really useful. All right, money. I keep stating how important money is, and Patrick's going to talk about money a little bit more. He's the money guy.
Let's talk about money. So when you're doing long-range planning, there are two major questions you have to answer. How much do I need to have saved on the day I retire to last me the rest of my life? The goal. And that's one of the most common questions that we hear, and it's something that all of our financial planner friends tell us that they hear. So people think that there must be this hidden number out there. And there is a number for you, but it's for you and not necessarily for someone who's almost similarly situated. So the first thing you have to figure out is, how much do I need to have saved on the day I retire to last me the rest of my life? And the second is, how much do I need to save starting now in order to reach that goal when I'm ready to retire, whenever that is? And if you're thinking about retiring soon and you haven't begun to address these questions, you're going to have, I think, corporate speak as more challenges. And you may be here longer than you would like, or you may be surprised. And like my galley on my last trip, went in and saw the financial planner and they said, oh, you can go anytime, you're good. She said, now I'm totally conflicted because I still like my job. I
Some
don't know.
people are like thinking for years and stressing, and then they go see their financial planner and they go, you're fine, you can go anytime. So it's,
By the way, my favorite graphic in this whole thing is the one on the bottom right there. I said you held Christmas off. Yeah. So, so the general goal is to maintain the same lifestyle you had while you were working. And the problem I have with that is that I'm really tired of being poor. I want to be one of those wealthy retirees I see on the TV, you know, jetting off to the Bahamas and using their silver sneakers membership. But apparently that's not the goal. Apparently the goal is to maintain the same lifestyle you had while you're working. Bummer. So if you're going to want to retire at age 67, the first question you need to ask is, how long am I going to live?
what?
What? How long am I going to live? Oh, come on. What kind of question is that? I mean, and that becomes the first of our answers. Well, that's not an answer. Come on. Come on. And that's going to be one of the most frustrating things about retirement planning is that we're flight attendants. We want the answer. We want and there isn't one. There are good guesses. There are approximations. There are probabilities, but there isn't a solid answer, particularly when the first question is, how long are you going to live? So it's not really an answer. It's more of a, I don't know, guesstimate. So the first of our guesstimates is, how long are you going to live? Well, your life expectancy in 2025 it's gone up. It's 79 years. Yay. Yeah, we were going down. 2020, we had the largest decline since World War II. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, deaths of despair. So yeah. And the problem is that 76.5 for men and 81.4 years for women. And guys, I got a question. If we allegedly run the world, how did we let that happen? I mean, shouldn't life expectancy be one of those rewards for running the world? But
Who runs the world? Who runs the world?
Right, yeah, no, and that's going to be less for African Americans, 74, more for Hispanics, 81.3. And I got all of this information out of the National Vital Statistics Report, volume 64. Book 6, we're expecting volume 65 out any day now, except they're apparently having trouble because all the people that publish it are with the government anymore. So we'll see. But I can tell you, this is the best cure for insomnia that you will ever find in your life. Take that on a layover. You will sleep like a baby. So that's the first of our guesstimates. How long you're going to live? Then the problem is that's just an average. Half of us are going to die sooner. Half of us are going to die later. So how do you figure it out? How long did your mom live? How long did your dad live? Grandma, grandpa? I love telling the story. I started going gray in high school. It was terrible. I mean, you're trying to fit in, and here I am with gray hair, and you know, people think I was a teacher there. And I went home one day and I said, Mom, I discovered in biology class today that this gray hair is all your fault. Everything about a man's hair comes on the mother's genes. So what's going to happen next? Am I going to go bald in college? I mean, did my uncles or grandfathers or anybody go bald early? She says, oh, honey, none of them ever lived that long. Great. Thanks, Mom. So the question you have to ask is, which half are you in? And I know that sounds flippant, but it's a really serious question because a lot of which choice should I make is driven by which half do you think you're in, really? I mean, we all want to be in the half that lives long. Well, most of us do. Well, the half that lives longer than average, but really, realistically, which half are you in? Because we will come back to this question. And that's just the first of our guesstimates. There are some other guesstimates, for instance, salary projection, because we know wages always go up. Well, unless, of course, you're in the airline industry and
Okay, but they have been since our most recent contract.
they have been going
It will
up.
be going up for a few more years.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and shout out to APFA, the best raise I've ever gotten, and I've been here more than a day. So, yeah. How about inflation? We know that always goes up, except it didn't for 10 years, and now we're making up for lost time, I guess. And how about the stock? I don't even want to talk about this stuff. Yeah, investment returns. So, again, the best you can do is averages and projections and probabilities. So you get those done, and then we come to the hardest question of all. Are you ready to retire? Wow. Wow. And I'm here to tell you, you have to be ready to retire, because if you leave early, you're not going to be happy. So you need to be ready, and you have to decide, have you reached that point? And the thing is, we're flight attendants. I mean, my God, we will ask our buddy bidders, we'll ask our sister, we may even ask our spouse, and we may even ask our financial planner. And the problem is, they are all going to give you the answer that's right for them. That you're the only one that really knows what's right for you. So I take some comfort. We talk, like Kim said, we talk to a lot of people who've already retired, and like 98, 99% of the people I ask, so did you retire at the right point? Was it too soon, too late? Most of them go, oh my God, I don't know why I waited so long. My life is so full. I don't know how I've had time to go fly. I'm going, fine. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the people that aren't happy. Why aren't you happy? And almost universally, it's because they didn't plan. They went, oh, $40,000, man, that'll last me the rest of my life. I'm out of here. Or they took the sudden out.
The sudden out?
The sudden out. Yeah, that's where the supervisor and your union rep meet you on the jet bridge. And as you're walking up the jet bridge, the union rep whispers in your ear, I got your retirement and I recommend you take it. You didn't plan. Or your doctor says, no, you can't go back to the airplane.
You can't plan for that sometimes.
You can't plan. Yeah. But I have good news for you. Each and every one of you are listening to us today because you're planning for retirement. You're going to be in the group that's happy. So we meet all these things. So now we're gonna go ahead and retire. How and when? So how? There is the retirement notification form. And it's a mandatory form. It's on Crew Portal, Department's in-flight admin forms, which I think is actually current.
It is current.
They keep moving that around on us. Every time we go to hunt for it, we have to go, where did you move the form to now? And if you are electing the RHRA, the Retirement Health Reimbursement Account, and that's from your sick bank, Kim will talk about that in a little bit, you have to give 4 months notice. So if you're doing the RHRA, 4 months notice. If you're not doing the RHRA, no notice is required. We say 30, 60 days notice will make your life smoother, but there's absolutely no notice required. I frequently get the question, how quickly can I get out of here? And my answer is, you can retire between the beverage and the meal service. There is no notice required. I am filing for understaffing, but yeah, there's no notice required unless you're doing the RHRA. Well, what's that mandatory form look like? That's what it looks like. And you'll notice the very first button is I'm retiring, and the second button below it is I'm rescinding my retirement, because that's the second question I get. If I put it in, am I locked in? No, you're not locked in until
that day has come and gone.
Right? Yeah, the day before your retirement, you're done. You're locked in. So yeah, that's the one to go. So, any questions, Kim?
I think we do have a few questions already. Okay, so this is kind of why are we docked for AA training time for flight attendants 6.5 weeks in the 65-point plan calculation? I think this person is talking about if they're transferring from a subsidiary to American Airlines, because they say this amount of time would disqualify each and every flight attendant coming from a subsidiary and joining AA, as there's an allotment of only 30 days between the termination date and the training graduation date. So this, we think, is a short sight on the part of the company, and I agree with this person. It is an oversight on the behalf of the company. They have something called the 30-day rule, where if you quit AA and go to a subsidiary or vice versa, you have to start the new job within 30 days. And most of the time you have to go to training, and the training's longer than 30 days. So I think it's very short-sighted of the company to make it 30 days. I think as long as you get into training within 30 days, they should honor and let you keep whatever seniority you had previously. But that's the rule as it stands now. It's not contractual, it's just company policy. We do have it on our list to kind of try and address this with the company, because I think they would have a lot more people stay within the sort of AA umbrella rather than going to work for a different airline or something like that if they allowed people to keep seniority. And we need good flight attendants, good pilots, good employees, and they should encourage them, to stay. But this is a stupid rule, and I agree with you. That's the way it stands right now, unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is, what is the first step I need to take to determine if I'm eligible for retirement? And who do I need to talk to help expedite my retirement? Well, basically, the retirement eligibility is based on the 65-point plan, which we covered. You have to have at least 10 years of company seniority, and your age plus your years of service have to equal 65 or more. So, and there is that 65-point plan calculator on JetNet. So that's the best place to start to determine your eligibility. And then who can I talk to help facilitate or expedite my retirement? I mean, if you just go in there and put in the retirement notification form that Patrick was telling you about it, that's going to expedite it, because once you hit that day that you put in, you will be retired. So first check to see that you're eligible, then put in the form, and you determine your retirement date. So you get to choose the retirement date. We're going to talk a little bit further about a couple of things you might want to think about before you put that date in. We mentioned income. So if you're starting a pension or something, and also your health benefits. So those are two things that might play into the date that you choose. And we're going to cover those in the next parts of our presentation. Okay, next question. Also, in order to expedite your retirement, if you have questions, you can always contact us and retirement@apfa.org. Send us an email, call the the APFA number, 817-540-0108. You hit 1 for a rep on duty and then 6 for the retirement specialist when you hit the voicemail menu. And if the phone call goes to voicemail, we'll try and call you back as soon as possible. All right, next question is, how long can I be QI before I'm forced to retire? And if one is out of QI and out of sick and vacation time, are they forced to retire? Okay, QI just means your qualifications have lapsed. So if you're just QI, you just don't go to training, they're going to give you a directive and tell you, you need to come to training or we will terminate you. So that's how long you have until they give you that directive. And I don't know how long that is. It may vary. You can be QI because you're on a medical leave. And if you're QI because you've been sick and you haven't been able to go to training, you're allowed to be on QI for up to 5 years, as long as you're willing to perpetually, and I think it's right now, every 3 months, you have to get a new note or a new medical substantiation from your doctor and send it to the company to show that you have a legitimate medical reason for being off. So that's how long you can be QI if you're out on a legitimate medical leave, is 5 years once you exhaust your sick time. So at the end of the 5 years, if you're not able to come to work, they are going to do what they call administratively sever you. Basically, you don't have a job anymore. They will send you notification, but before that, they'll give you a chance to try and come back to work if you want to. Some people can, some people can't, But as far as, you can't just go QI without a legitimate reason and stay out on QI. And also there's a big impact to your health benefits. If you go on QI, like, you don't go to training, you just no show or something, I don't know, then they're going to start charging you the higher rate for your benefits, the full rate. So those are the implications. You will get a directive and be told to go to training. And if you don't, you'll you could be terminated, and you're going to have to pay a heck of a lot more for your health benefits. But as long as you're off for a legitimate medical or injury on duty leave or maternity leave, if you go QI during that period of time, they're going to give you some leeway, and you'll just have to attend training before you go back to work. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, next. I'm figuring out timing of a retirement date. What date of the month is best to retire? first of the month, last day of the month, any date. So if you want to take this
Yes.
one?
The best day of the month to retire is the end of the month because most of your benefits and your Social Security are going to be effective the first day of the month. And you can't be eligible for those things and not retired at the same time. So I like to say your last day of the month at midnight, and then at 000 on the next day, you're now retired and your benefits kick in.
So you really want to retire on the first of the month,
Right.
and you want to have your last day as an active employee on the last day of a calendar month, and not the bid month, the calendar month.
Yes, and it's really confusing because we think of, well, the 31st is going to be my retirement date. Well, no, that's your last day you're working. Your first retirement date is the first. So I like to keep in my head, my last day worked and my retirement date are two separate dates. So you want your last day to be worked to be the last day of the calendar month, and the first day of retirement to be the first of the month. It's not a do or die thing. It just makes the transition to other benefits a whole lot easier.
And the reason for that, for a lot of people who are retiring are going on Medicare. Medicare only starts on the first of a calendar month. And also, if you have a pension, all of the pensions, the Legacy US Airways pensions, the Legacy AA pensions, they all start on the first of a given calendar month. So that's the reason. Now, if you don't have a pension and you're not going on Medicare, you're going to go on COBRA. COBRA can start on any day of the month. If you're going to go on a spouse's benefits and do a life event can be on any day of the month. So it really depends on your situation. But if you're starting Medicare and or a pension, the first of the month is the best day to retire.
Yeah. If you're already on a spouse's medical, then it doesn't matter when you leave American because that's not going to change.
Okay. There's a lot of questions in this.
There are. I better get a drink.
I have a specific question regarding calculating what age for retirement. Is there a calculator? And I think that's probably what age would I be eligible according to the 65-point plan. And as we mentioned, there is a calculator available on JetNet. You go to team member services, then retirement, and you'll see a 65-point plan calculator. So if you have another question about age, I guess email us or call us and we'll try and answer that. Okay, so are we required, I'll let you get this, Patrick, are we required to fill out the retirement notification form? And what if we don't know the exact date of retirement? And what if we retire tomorrow? Does that retirement form have to be filled out? I understand that sick time accrued is 4 months in advance, but if I don't want the RHRA, do I still have to fill out the form?
You have to fill out the form. You could fill it out for today.
Yeah.
And say, I'm out of here today.
And I know somebody that did that. and it went through that same day.
I think I helped someone do that once. So yes, you can fill it out for today, but you have to fill out the form. And you say, why? Why are you making me jump through this hoop? Because, I hate computers. And the why is that when you retire, there's all this stuff that goes on in the background. We've got to take away your KCM. We have to tell the customs and immigration people you're not a crew member anymore. We have to fix your ramp access. We have to get your all of your benefits that are switching from active to retiree. We have to order your, all this stuff that happens in the background. And it used to be that it would take several people a couple of hours to get it all done. Well, now when you fill out the form, it goes and make sure that nothing gets missed, because Kim can tell you supervisors missed a lot of stuff in the past. And by having you fill out the form and there being a process, things have don't tell anyone, but it's actually been running a little bit smoother. So, but yes, you have to fill out the form. You don't have to fill it out 4 months in advance unless you're doing the RHRA.
And it's really easy. You go through and you put in it has your name and your employee number, but for some reason it asks for your base. And then it's going to start asking you a series of questions. And at the end, you make sure your personal email's in there, because they're going to send you a confirmation, and hit submit and you're good to go. And unless you go back and rescind it, you will be retired on that date that you put in there.
Yep.
So, all right, I think that's all of the questions for this section. So we will move on to what do you get in retirement? I guess that's me, huh?
That's
Since
you.
Patrick talked about money. All right, well, what do you get in retirement? Basically, you get travel privileges. You get paid out for your vacation and sick time. You get the option to elect the RHRA. You get a retirement gift. Fabulous. We'll talk about that. And you get the status of being a retiree. And you get the option to purchase some really expensive retiree medical insurance if you separate prior to Medicare eligibility. So if you separate between the ages of 55 and 65 and you're not yet eligible for Medicare, you can. You may not want to when you see the price, but you can purchase some retiree medical benefits. All right, so we'll start by talking about retiree travel. You get your D1, D2R, D2P, D3, AA20, and 20% off Advantage tickets. The D1, you notice, does not have an R after it. So you get the same number of D1 passes that you had as an active employee and no R. So you're in with all the D1s when you travel D1. The D3s, you get half the number that you got when you were an active employee. So keep that in mind if you have a lot of D3s that use your travel benefits. All non-rev travel is booked on non-rev travel planner, which is accessible through the AA retirees website, which is www.retirees.aa.com. So once you retire, your JetNet access will be terminated and you will be switched over to the retirees website. And that's where you go for everything that you need as a retiree. Okay, so service charges on your travel, charged to a credit card. And when if you get on the flight. So that's the same as it is now. And pro tip is if you have D3s, make them use their own credit card so you don't pay for their service charges. All right, so your Z travel is booked on My ID Travel, which is also accessible on the retirees website. And unfortunately, this makes a lot of us cry and maybe stay around a little bit longer than we should. No more jump seat authority and no KCM. So that's a bummer. We had to enjoy that while we were active employees. And non-rev friendly travel agencies, there's a bunch of deals and discounts on the retirees website, and the non-rev friendly travel agencies such as Perks, where you can book cruises and so on. So they're a pretty good deal. I talk to people that go on those all the time and really love it. Also, unfortunately, the company's going to stop paying for your TSA pre-check and global entry. So if you're planning your retirement maybe a year, 6 months out, and your global entry is expiring, you might want to get that paid for one more time on the company dime, but that's just going to depend on the timing of your retirement. Once you put in that form, they're probably not going to pay for it. Just saying. All right. So sick and vacation time. Unused sick time is paid out at a paltry rate of $8.65 per sick hour. Boo. We're going to hopefully get that changed in the next contract. We'll see. All unused and accrued vacation. So unused vacation is vacation you've already bid for. Accrued vacation is vacation you've earned, but we haven't even bid for it yet. You're going to get paid out at the contractual rate of 4 hours per day at your rate of pay. Yay, that's good. That's contractual. And your vacation pay is not eligible for the employer 401k match and contribution. However, it is eligible for your employee election to put into your 401k. So if you want, some people like to change their 401k and what is it called? Deduction amount and make it higher before they get paid out for that vacation and put more of it in their 401k so they can either defer the taxes or either have it all go into a Roth, so whatever you choose, but a lot of people do that. All right, pro tip, you can change your 401k deductions amount from the Fidelity website, and it will give you a time frame on there. You have to do it maybe 1 to 2 pay periods in advance. So, all right, the retiree health reimbursement arrangement, which is also known as the RHRA. In order to qualify for the RHRA, you must be eligible for the 65-point plan. You have to notify the company 4 months in advance in order to put 50% of the full value of your accumulated sick time into the RHRA. The RHRA is not actually money sitting in an account. It's what's known as a notional account. So it's credit for reimbursement for eligible medical expenses. There are some expenses that you're just going to have to show a receipt that you paid for it. Some reoccurring expenses like your Medicare premiums and so on, as long as you show, like at the beginning of the year, how much is going to come out of your Social Security or how much you're going to be paying every month for your Medicare premium, you can set that up as a reoccurring reimbursement, and they will automatically send it to you every month. So there's a couple of different ways of doing it, and it's all on the Fidelity website. It's administered by Fidelity. There's also a list of eligible expenses on the IRS website. It's comparable to the expenses for the healthcare FSA if you've had one of those while you're active.
I had a flight attendant tell me a tip the other day that I actually thought was kind of cool. She said, I was using the card because you can get that MasterCard, debit card, and it was so easy. Now, every time I went to an optometrist or dentist, I, of course, had to send in the receipt because they want to make sure I'm not reimbursing teeth whitening or whatever. But she said, and then I applied for a Citibank Advantage card. And I thought, well, why don't I use my Citibank Advantage card for all of my medical expenses and then just turn the receipt? And that's what she's doing. So she was actually traveling on miles when I met her on the airplane. So
Yay.
I thought that was kind of a fun. I love little ways to make the system work for you.
Exactly. And then one last thing about the RHRA, there are 2 ways to get an RHRA. So one is by electing the plus plan. During benefits enrollment, you get a certain amount put into RHRA for retirement. You don't have to give 4 months advance notice for that. You already have that RHRA if you have the one through the plus plan. If you do the contractual RHRA that's funded by your leftover sick time, that's when you have to give the 4 months in advance. If you have both, they're just going to combine the amount in there after you retire. Okay, what's next? Oh, you get a fabulous retirement gift. Yay. About 60 to 90 days. It takes a while. So we get a lot of people going, I've retired and I haven't heard anything from the company, nothing. And where's this retirement gift I'm going to get? I feel like so unloved. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, you're going to feel unloved because you're not going to get anything for several months. You'll get the retirement gift. So it takes so long, it almost feels like an afterthought, but you will get it, So it's sad that they don't actually go out of their way more to kind of let people know that they value their years of service, but that's what we're seeing these days with the company, and it is sad. But anyway, you will eventually get the retirement gift catalog. Actually, most people get it, 60 to 90 days. I talked to one girl the other day and she said, it's been over a year and I never got it. And I thought,
yeah, no, we need to follow up.
They say sometimes they send it and the people don't get it, or they accidentally throw it away because they think it's a junk mail or something. Well, she actually never got it. And I emailed the people at the company in charge of that, and they said, you were right. She didn't get it. We'll send her one out in 60 days. It'd been a year and she still has to wait 60 days. So there you go.
That's the American I know.
Exactly. So anyway, the gift catalog comes with a commemorative certificate of your years of service. So you will have something that you can frame if you like that shows your years of service. And the options include a wide array of, it's kind of like a mini Sky Mall. So similar options to that with a few, more AA commemorative items. So here's an example of one, the crystal tail, that a lot of people get that one. And Patrick, what do you say?
I would say a pretty tail is really important. So
To some people it is. Also, we all say you can give yourself a gift by using your nonstop thanks prior to your retirement. But you won't be able to use them afterwards. So make sure you cash them all in. If you don't know what you want to get, you can get an Amazon gift card or some other kind of gift card. So you can use it later. But
and I just discovered something new about that.
what?
If you get down to where you have fewer points than the smallest gift card, you have an option now of donating them to,
Wings?
no.
Oh, bummer.
There's, yeah, like, so there's some charities listed there that you can just give your, I call it the loose change. It's the change for good in the program. So you can give your loose change to charity.
Good idea. And also before you go, you can donate all your nonstop thanks that you have in your bank to other flight attendants, that helped you out. So do that before you go too, because they'll appreciate that. All right. So you have access to the retirees website. We discussed it a little bit on the travel, but here's kind of what it looks like. It has the headings up at the top: quick links, benefits, travel, clubs and organizations. And you see over on the right-hand side, there's a little square that says need a retiree ID. Click here. You click there to fill out the application for your retiree ID.
Because it's not automatic.
It's not automatic. And there is an option to order it from JetNet prior to your retirement. But if you forget, you can always order it from the retirees website. Some other things on the retirees website: update your information. That's where you go to do that. Basically, pay information. So all your, like 7 years of pay statements
stubs, yeah.
and activity records are there if you need them. And employment and salary verification tells you how to get to the employment verification folks. Sometimes you might need that for Social Security later on or something. So this is just an example of what's on the retirees website. A lot more sparse than JetNet, but supposedly it has all the information you need once you've retired. All right, we talked about the retiree ID, and this is an example. And also your status is going to be changing. So you once were a sky goddess, dun, da, 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 sky goddess, sky goddess. And now this is what I aspire to anyway. Cat rancher, woohoo, my plans, hanging out with the kitties after retirement. So you can have other aspirations, of course, but we just thought,
But what else matters?
what else matters? Animals, people that you care about, animals that you care about. So anyway, retirees can submit an online request for their retiree ID, and you can use it for discounts and shipping, hotels, your FedEx discount, those perks discounts, things like that. And a government issued ID is actually required for travel. So you don't use this for travel, but if you wear it on the plane, you might get some wine or something. You never know. Get people go, oh, you're a retiree. Let me shower you with gifts if I'm not too busy. We'll see. And access to the retirees website, we already went through that. Payroll access, we went through that. And e-pays, paperless pay, sequence history.
Cool enough.
Now, the activity records are there, but the detailed sequence history, like your HI-13s and so on, if you want to pull those up from FOSS, you need to do that before you retire. So the overall monthly activity records there, but the detailed sequence history, that you would need to pull up prior to your retirement if you need that for your records. All right. So if you're not able to retire, guess what? You can just quit. And people do it all the time. We had more people resign than retire in 2025. So people do it, and sometimes they're eligible for things. So if you think it's time to leave, you simply give notice to your flight service manager or crew manager or whatever manager.
Whatever name you got this
They keep
week.
changing them, name of the week. Now, there is not a form for quitting that I'm aware of. So if you want to just quit, you don't have to fill out the form. Your vacation will be paid out. Hey, because that's contractual. So you never lose out on your vacation when you leave the company. If you qualify for a pension and your legacy AA, you contact Fidelity to find out when and how you can commence those benefits. If you're a legacy US person, you contact the PBGC to find out when and how you can commence your pension. And if you're not retiring, that means you're not eligible for the 65-point plan. Otherwise, you would retire rather than just quit. You do not get paid out for your sick time. You don't have the option for the RHRA. Okay, any questions? So questions in this section. Patrick, I'll let you do this one. When is the best month to retire? Do you suggest selling back your vacation the year you plan to retire?
Well, let's start with the best month. For most people, it doesn't matter. I do say, if you're retiring further along in the year and you've already hit your out-of-pocket max on your American Airlines health benefits, you may want to just stay around a little longer and use that benefit, because when you retire and go to a new plan, whether it's Medicare, your spouse's, or even your spouse's American Airlines plan, it's a new plan and you have a new deductible and a new out-of-pocket max. So that's one of the few times where it actually might influence your decision. And of course, some people just like being nice and clean and say, I retired at the end of 2026 and in 2027, so they retire at the end of the year. A lot of people are like, I am not working another Christmas, I'm out of here. And yeah, so to be perfectly honest, the most common motivator for when you retire is
avoiding training.
Avoiding CQ, absolutely. So we get the question all the time. Well, like my base month is June, my grace month is July. When do I have to retire? Well, you can retire at the end of July because you'll go QI August 1st. Well, who cares, because you're now retired. So if you're going to do that, talk to us about it, because they're going to try and plot training on you, and you just call the training desk and say, I will be glad to have you spend the money to train me, but I'm not going to be here. And,
yeah, and actually you can call the training desk, but they won't do anything. You have to have your manager call the training desk.
Oh my God, that's right.
Make them do some work. And also, you have to put in the retirement notification form so that your manager can see that you're going to retire at the end of your grace month. So that's another thing.
For some reason, they always think we're trying to avoid. Oh, we are. Never mind.
Oh, if only. So another thing about retiring is, for some people that are high income people, they might want to retire partway through the year so they earn less income, because having more than a certain amount of income might trigger a higher Medicare premium for some people. But that you should talk to a Medicare expert about, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Medicare further on, but that's another reason that some people might retire at the end of the first quarter or the second quarter of the year. So it really varies according to your situation, you know. The second part of the question, do you suggest selling back your vacation in the year that you plan to retire? Well, anytime you retire, it's almost like you get an automatic vacation buyback, because you're going to get paid out for all your unused vacation, all of your accrued vacation. So I say, if you are going to retire prior to June 15th, when we get paid out for the vacation buyback, don't do it, because somebody else can hold it. It's seniority based. So why do it if you're going to retire before that date and you're going to get an automatic vacation buyback? Now, if you would like to get the payout on June 15th and you're going to retire after that sometime during the year, then go ahead and bid for it. So there's not, again, a clear-cut answer. It depends on your situation.
You're going to get paid out 4 hours a day, whether you take it as buyback or you take it when you retire.
Right.
Some people really like that lump sum when they retire. It's kind of like one last chunk of money. I actually was talking to a flight attendant a couple of weeks ago, and they had bid, and they won't find out for 3 more days. They had bid to have all of their vacation in February and March of 2027. And then they're going to leave at the end of this year. December 31st. So they'll have all 35 days scheduled for February and March.
Vacation.
And then they'll have another 35 days that they've accrued this year. So they're going to get paid out for 70 days of vacation when they leave. That's going to be a very nice going away check.
Mhm. And then I know other people that, don't want to fly that much in their last year, so they bid all their vacation so they can fly as little as possible. But they're still accruing vacation, so they're still, if they go at the end of the year, they're still going to get paid out for a full year of accrued vacation, even if they use up all their bid vacation to fly less during that last year.
Yeah.
There's all different kinds of strategies, so. All right, next question. Best funds, vacation. Okay, who can travel with a retiree on the last trip, and how does that work? I have been told that AA allows a retiree to have one companion to travel on a positive round trip ticket and layover. Please explain, is this true or is it a myth? Well, unfortunately, and you guys are going to get this and feel the pain, but it's true for the pilots. It's not true for the flight attendant. So go figure,
I'm going to go right up to first class in their reserved seat and tell them that I'm going to have.
And somehow the pilots got that in their contract that they can have someone come with them on their last trip. However, they have to go on the whole last trip. I had a friend that was married to a pilot, and she wanted to just go on the last leg of his 4-day trip, and be on the last fun flight. And they said, oh no, you have to go through the whole slog of the 4-day trip or we're not paying for it. So even with the pilots, they're a little bit, they don't really work with them on it. And with AA, it used to be that they would say it's not required for the flight attendants, but we'll look at the loads, and if it's okay, yeah, we'll put them on there. They don't do that anymore. If you call them and ask, they say, we don't do that anymore. They're not very helpful, or again, they don't do a whole lot to make you feel special when you're retiring after 20, 30, 40 years, which kind of sucks. But a lot of people bring their spouse or significant other or a child or, a friend or something on their last trip anyway, but it's not something that they will do. I wish it wasn't a myth, but it is, unfortunately. All right. I've heard you must give 3 to 4 months notice as to when you'd like to retire. Is this correct? Also, if you leave in the middle of the month, are your benefits good through the end of that month?
You only need to give the 4 months notice if you're converting to an RHRA. So no on that part. And then your benefits end. Remember how I was talking about the difference between the last day worked and the first day retired? Your benefits end at midnight, or actually 23:59 on your last day worked.
So they don't go through the end of the month.
Yeah.
If
Now,
you retire on the 15th, they'll end at midnight on the 14th, so.
yeah, that changed 35 years ago.
Mhm.
So, but yeah.
All right. As a retired flight attendant, can you still use JetNet to check flights and list yourself and check in? If not, how do we do that? Well, we showed you the retirees website, and your JetNet access will be cut off, but you will have access to non-rev travel planner on the retirees website. So that's how you do it.
And it's the same non-rev travel planner. It's not like you have to
Right.
learn a new one.
It's exactly the same, and all your travelers everything in there will transfer over. The only difference is that you're going to change to D2R for the unlimited part of the travel. The D1s will stay the same, and your balance of D1s will carry over in the year that you retire. So if you've already used 2, you're only going to have 2 round trips. You're only going to have, 1 round trip left for the rest of the year. So it gets reset every calendar year, and you don't get a whole new, bucket of D1s when you retire. Unfortunately, that would be good too if you got a little bonus the first year retire, but it doesn't work that way. And your companion, if you have a registered companion, they will carry over. So just like as an active employee, you get either 3 round trips or 6 one-ways as D1, and you get the same after retirement. All right. One more question. I have a registered companion. Will they lose this travel benefit after I retire?
Absolutely not. And like we said, it's the same non-rev travel planner. In that same area of non-rev travel planner where you get rid of that awful X that you had as a retirement. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
where you change your registered companion. It's the same non-rep travel, the same rules on the registered companion. I think it's 12 months, every 12 months you can, or 6 months.
I think they have to be in there for at least maybe 12 months.
I know the registered travelers are 12 months. So let's go with 12. That they have to, once you elect someone, they're there for 12 months and then you can change it again.
Oh, and then one other one, how long until you receive your sick payout? That's usually on your last regular paycheck, I think. So say you retire on the 1st, it would normally be paid out on the 15th paycheck. Your vacation pay comes a little later, usually about 6 weeks. So if you retired on the 1st, it would be the 15th of the following month.
Right.
So
basically 45 days. And the thing that's confusing is that they talk about your last paycheck and your final paycheck. And that first one, the one on the 15th, right after you retired, is generally what people mean when they say the last paycheck. And the final one is the one way down there. Let's call it 45 days out, which has your vacation. And by the way, if you owe them money, they will figure that out within that 45 days and they'll deduct it from what they think they owe you. They try and balance the books. So.
Mhm. Okay, I think we're ready for the next section.
All right. So let's talk about income. What about income? Well, hopefully in retirement, you're going to have multiple streams of income.
I wish.
Yeah, really. For most of us, our primary one is going to be our 401k, and then we'll have some IRAs, we'll have some Social Security, we'll have some savings, and that may look a little different than what immediately pops into your head when we say savings. And if it's applicable, you'll have a pension. And if you've got all 5 streams of income, I call that like the 5-legged stool. And that's because it's really, really stable in terms of your financial life. And the reason that's important is if you have a 5-legged stool and one of them gets kicked out from underneath you, I don't know, say Social Security, say that Congress decides that old people don't vote, they're wrong, and decide that, well, they're going to reduce Social Security for people that saved for retirement.
They wouldn't do that.
No, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, just like they'd never change the age 65 for Social Security requirement. No. And you know where that came about? That came about back in the 70s when Ronald Reagan was president and they needed to balance the budget without reducing spending. So what they did is change the Social Security age from 65 to 67. They figured that by the time we figured out how they'd screwed us, that they'd all be dead. Well, they are, but I'm still angry about it. So, yeah. And the thing is that even if something like that happens, it's not that it's not going to hurt, but by having all those other sources of income there, it's not going to be fatal. And the reason that's important and why I am so happy I work in a unionized workforce where my union cares about us having all of these options available is because I contrast that with the over 50% of people on Social Security that's all they've got.
That's really scary.
That is scary. I mean, what kind of security is there when your entire financial life depends on the good graces of the U.S. Congress? Oh my God. No, don't even think about it. So, I mean, we've got all these, well, there's a lot of tweaks on this. Well, what about my 401k loan? Well, the first option is you can continue to pay that back as your current amortization is. The thing is you don't have a paycheck anymore. So you have to set up an auto deduction from your checking account, some sort of ACH pay. The second option is you can stop making payments and take the outstanding balance as a distribution. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because you bust your ability to continue to have, even after you're retired, you still have money in this investment account that's growing unless you take it out and don't put it back. So, yeah. And if you're not yet 59 and a half, you pay not only taxes, but a penalty. So yeah, don't do it. And one last thing to remember about the 401k, your 401k will freeze for the first 30 days after your exit from the company. So if you're going to need money out of your 401k in that first 30 days after a retirement, I suggest you consider rolling a little bit of money out before you actually leave, because that 30 days is a hard freeze. You can't take money out, you can't put money in, you can't change your investment, you can't. So if you need money out of your first 30 days, well, actually, if you need money out of your 401k in the first 30 days, you might want to talk to a financial planner because you may not yet quite be ready. Because that's a playing it pretty close to the edge there. You can also roll your 401k into an IRA, a new 401k. You go get another job. Welcome to Walmart. Welcome to Walmart. Yeah. And they would love to have you roll your 401k over into their plan because the more participants in the plan, the cheaper the overhead because there's one president, they have to divide it. And the more people they're divided among, the smaller your overhead is. Or you can just leave it where it is and manage it through the Fidelity website, just like you do today, using the same investment options that you have, either, the Edelman or, one of the tracker
Or just do it yourself.
or just do it yourself. Yeah, because you've got a lot more time to study the markets now. So on your IRA, there you have there we go. You have two types of IRAs. You've got the pre-tax and the traditional, and we're not working here.
We're not working?
Oh,
there it goes.
And your
Technology.
post-tax, which was the original Roth, but you now have a Roth within the 401k. Yes, you do. Some people don't, they're like, well, Roth is an IRA. Well, you now have a Roth within the 401k as well. However, one of the problems with the IRA in terms of investing versus the 401k is that the IRA has income limits. And in 2026, the income limit is $153,000 for single and $242,000 for a married couple filing jointly. I had a neighbor call me the other day complaining bitterly that they're doing their taxes and they disqualified their IRA contributions and are sending it all back to them. And I said, that's because you made too much money. Cry me a river. I know. And then something you will hear about is conversion. You can roll your 401k into an IRA, and that may be a great idea. It may be a terrible idea. The 401k and the IRA seem like they're kind of the same thing. They're pre-tax accounts or Roth accounts, but they're actually very different products. And 401ks are a function of federal law, so they're covered under ERISA. And that means that it's 100% protected from somebody that's trying to take your money away from a creditor. Whereas your IRA is a product of state law. So it depends on which state you live in, what kind of protection you have. I think it's Michigan that has a $50,000 protection. So anything over $50,000, people can attach through, judgments and various and sundry creditor access. The other thing, so you want to figure out if someone tries to convince you to roll your existing 401k into an IRA, find out why. Because a lot of the times the people that are advising you to do that want you to sell all your stuff in the 401k, come over there and buy all that same exact stuff in the IRA because they get a commission when you buy it. And that's one of the reasons I love using what's called a fee-for-service financial planner. They don't make any more or less money depending on whether or not I move my IRA or what they recommend. So because their whole job is to just do what's best for me, I worry a lot less about them being influenced. The other thing is do not be shocked when you get closer to retirement age and you start getting solicited from all these people you've never heard of who A, want you to convert your into an IRA, and B, buy Medicare even though you don't need it yet. So yeah. All right. Kim, questions?
All right, more questions. So let's see. Okay. Should I stop my 401k contributions 6 months prior to signing up for Medicare? That's, I guess, Irma again. Or is that that's not your
No.
401k contributions.
No.
It's only if you take it out of your 401k that it shows up as income, right?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Don't stop your 401k contributions because they actually might help you prevent you from having too much income, which would cause the IRMA, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
I guess if you're doing the Roth 401k,
Oh, yeah.
that shows up as taxable income. So I guess it depends on
And whether
which
you,
401k you're putting it into.
yeah, and even if you stop the Roth, you still have to recognize the income. So in terms of avoiding IRMA, depositing or not depositing, it doesn't change that into a Roth.
Okay, and I guess that's the only one, that's the only question we have for that second.
Well, cool. Well, let's speaking of, we were talking about this timing and everything. Kim, what can you tell us about Social Security?
Okay, Social Security, that's for old people. I never thought I'd be talking about it. That's my grandmother and her friends complaining about their aches and pains, not me and you, Patrick. What happened here? How can we be talking about this? So Social Security. Basically, it can be taken as early as age 62 and as late as age 70. There's no increase after age 70, so it doesn't really make sense to wait until after age 70 to start taking it, because you're kind of leaving money on the table if you do that. The website is www.ssa.gov, and there's lots of really useful information, and you can see kind of what you're going to make when you turn 70, if you go at 67 or your full Social Security age. If you decide to take it early at 62, it shows you all that information. Very helpful. Married couples have some complicated decisions on how and when to draw the Social Security, if one starts sooner and one starts later, and does one claim half of a higher earning spouse's Social Security rather than their own? It's very complicated, which is why we say talk to a Social Security advisor, because we're not Social Security advisors. And there are even some apps. There's lots of good information, as we said, on ssa.gov, and there's even some apps where you can play with how to optimize your Social Security benefits. Maybe we should find the name of some of those apps and add them to our presentation, but I'm sure a nerd like Patrick will be using those apps. So I'll probably call an advisor and say, hey, how to earn my money best from Social Security? How do I maximize these benefits? But all right, so if you're considering retiring early and starting your Social Security, or whether or not you retire, if you're considering starting Social Security early at age 62, here's a few pros and cons. So basically, a pro is that you would get more years of payment. Another pro is that you can get the money now if you need it now. And sometimes maybe you have to retire earlier than you planned on. You can, if you're at least 62, you can go ahead and start that Social Security. Some cons are it's going to lower your payments for the rest of your life if you start it early. So another con is that if you're still working, you're subject to income limits until you hit your full Social Security age, which that's what SSNRA stands for. Oh, I jumped. I have to go back through them all. No, it's not going back to the last one.
There we go.
Okay, so basically, if you make more than $24,480 a year in 2026, they're going to deduct $1 of benefits for every $2 you earn over that limit. So it really minimizes the whole point of taking the benefit if you make more than that amount.
And
so,
just point of interest, 40 hours is more than that.
Yeah, so if you're flying the hard 40, you're going to be over that income limit. Well, at least if you're at the top of the pay scale. I'm not sure lower down on the pay scale. We'll have to run those.
I'll have to run that now. Okay, now you got me wondering.
But if you're at the top of the pay scale, you're definitely over that if you're just flying the hard 40. So, and the break-even point, which we're going to show in our little chart that I automatically jumped to on accident, is the average age of death. So back to the question of when are you going to die? The blue line is someone that starts their Social Security at age 62. So until they hit that average age of death, which is 79 now, they're going to be making more. But then if you live longer, you wish maybe you had waited a little bit longer and taken it later, because you do better in the long run if you waited a little, if you're going to live longer. So that's kind of, you have to look at your family history, how long your parents lived, your general state of health, and make that determination for yourself. All right, so full Social Security at Social Security normal retirement age. There is a special one-time limit for the year that you reach your Social Security normal retirement age. So for the months before your birthday, the income limit is slightly higher. So they're not going to ding you quite as quickly. So you can make $62,160 for 2026 before the month that you reach your full Social Security age. And if you make, they're not going to ding you for that over the limit, the $2 for every, because once you hit the full Social Security age, you can take it and work, and it doesn't matter how much you're earning. So it's just in the months prior to your birthday that counts. All right. So this is a little chart that shows if you're born in such and such a year, when can you claim Social Security? And you see that for anyone born in 1960 and after, it's age 67. If you're born between 1943 and 1959, there's a sliding scale of 66, and so many months along the way. All right, what counts as earnings for Social Security, Patrick?
All right, that's a good question, because we were just talking about this earnings limit. Well, what do you mean by earnings? Well, earnings is income from wages or net earnings from self-employment. So, you've got this little gig on the side, you're, selling stuff, that's going to count as earnings. Also, anything that comes from the employment, even though they don't call it wages, so bonuses, commissions, severance pay, vacation payout, anything that's income from your employment is going to be earnings. The good news is that earnings do not include investment income. So does not include pensions, doesn't include capital gains, doesn't include inheritance. Therefore, dividends and capital gains are not going to influence your Social Security benefits directly, even if you decide to file that early, between 62 and your full retirement age. Is there taxes on Social Security? Yes. However, the good news is the first 15% of your Social Security is tax-free, no matter how much or little you make. Even Bill Gates doesn't pay Social Security doesn't pay income tax on the first 15% of his Social Security. He doesn't know it and doesn't care. However, I'm gonna find
the sweet spot.
Yeah, we need new batteries.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll last to the end of the presentation.
Hey, you will pay tax on some portion, either 0, 50, or 85% of the rest. And note that's not the tax bracket. That's just how much of it's going to be taxed. Here's the chart. It says if you're married filing jointly, and you only make 0 to 32,000 in earnings. Remember, we just talked about earnings. That you pay 0% tax on your Social Security. So if I had $10,000 in earnings and I took $90,000 out of my savings or my Roth, I only had $10,000 in earnings, so I'm not going to have any of my Social Security taxed. So that's why the definition of earnings is important, because it's not what you spend, it's where it came from. All the way up to if you're earning more than 44,000, 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed. 44,000 is again more than or less than the 40-hour rate.
See my eyes glazing over? I'm going to talk to an expert.
Is Social Security, does states tax? Well, some. In 37 states, your Social Security is tax-free. In 13 states, do tax some or all of your Social Security. So 37, yeah. So you might want to think about these 13 states as not necessarily being the place to be when you retire, which is a bummer because some of those are really cool places to be. So that's something you didn't really think about much. Where am I going to live? Where am I going to call my residence when I'm retired? Well, it actually is important in terms of how much your income you get to keep. Are you going to be in a high state income tax like California or New York? Or are you going to be in a zero income tax like Texas, Florida, Arizona? So that may drive where you decide to retire to. Break down batteries, I think.
Oh, no. Let's see. Josh, help. Oh, there, did it go?
Yeah.
Savings.
All right. So, there we, yeah. Savings. So in addition to cash, stocks and bonds, you may have some what I like to call hidden savings. And by that, I mean like home equity. And I don't mean a reverse mortgage. I really hate those products. They've gotten better, but it's better from the whole absolute worst to only terrible. But that could be something like you have this 4-bedroom home and all your kids have left home. Why do you have this huge house where you have to clean it every day? And so maybe you downsize to a nice garden townhouse where someone else mows the lawn and washes the windows. But that'll liberate a whole bunch of money because it's going to be a lot cheaper than your huge suburban home. So home equity is something that might be there. And it could be life insurance. And by life insurance, I'm not talking about what you get when your spouse dies that mysterious death. I mean, some life insurance policies build cash value, and those are generally called whole life policies. The bad news is that the other type is called term, and that's what we have from America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no cash value there.
I think we might have a question about
We
that
do have a
later.
question about that, so we'll just let that go.
Mhm.
Kim, what can you tell us about pensions?
Okay, so as far as pension goes, it's going to depend on where you started out your career prior to the merger. And that will determine when and how you can start your pension. So you may have started out with US Airways, you may have started out with AA. There may be different rules for different people, and there are. So if you started out at US Airways, you may have actually started out at, Allegheny, Piedmont, US Airways, Trump Shuttle, PSA. And guess what? Here's the little chart that shows the rules. So if you started at Shuttle, your early pension age is age 52, your full pension age is 62. For any of these pensions, there's going to be a 3% per year reduction if you start prior to the full pension age. So full pension age for Shuttles, 62, Piedmont, Allegheny, US Air, age 62. Early pension age is 55. You can start your pension then, but there will be that 3% reduction. PSA, early pension age is 55, full pension age is 65. So you have to wait longer for the full pension age. 3% reduction if you take it early applies across the board. Now for legacy AA, basically if you have at least 15 years of what they call retirement eligibility service, you can start your full pension at age 60. You can start it early at age 55 if you choose to, or anywhere in between. But again, that 3% per year reduction prior to age 60 will apply. Did you put it in the wrong way?
No, wrong size batteries.
Wrong size batteries. So
Yeah.
now it's just not moving.
Okay.
Not moving.
I do not think I have
Can we
my batteries.
go to Josh's computer? Hey, Josh, can you? He's not in the room, you guys. Basically, we'll be going on to talk about more pensions, but we got to get the slides to move. See, I can look and tell you what's next, and then we'll catch up. So you started at the chart. Okay, so it says something down at the bottom about double dipping. And with double dipping means you can take your pension while you're still working. And in most circumstances, there's no double dipping with the legacy AA pensions. There is one small loophole that some people fall into, maybe a dozen a year or something, but it's not something you can request. It's something that's triggered by an IRS rule. So by and large, if you have a legacy AA pension, you probably won't be able to start it until after you retire. I'm double dipping for the legacy US Airways members. Once you hit that early retirement age, you can start taking your pension while you're still working. The 3% reduction does apply that we mentioned, but you are able to take your pension while you're working because your pension's held not by American Airlines, but by the PBGC. So when Patrick gets back, we're going to talk about all the different options for taking your pension. And there's a variety, and they're more or less similar if you're LUS or LAA. There's, I think, only one option that's available to the to the LAA flight attendants that's not available to the LUS flight attendants.
I thought for sure we were going to be singing a rendition of songs from the 80s.
Oh, I was about to start that, but thankfully they don't have to hear my singing.
This isn't working out.
Okay, we're stuck on this slide, but Patrick, you want to tell them how many different ways they can get their money? You're going to try one more
Absolutely.
time? We appreciate your patience.
If you'll go share that with Mr.
I'll go share that with,
Josh, and see if he has
Yes.
an alternate one.
okay.
Thank you. Where are we? How many different ways can I get my money?
That's
Well,
where
there
we
are
are.
3 different ways that you could get your money. One is a single life annuity, and the PBGC calls that a straight life annuity. But fortunately for us, the acronym SLA, single life or straight life annuity, is the same. And we're an airline, and airlines run on jet fuel and acronyms. So you can get the single life annuity. The second way you can get your pension is you can share it with someone else. So that's a joint and survivor. You get a pension till you die, and then the survivor gets pension. And then the third way is a period certain. It's jumping around a little bit, so
We're moving now. We're
great.
back on point.
Yay.
Double dipping. We're talking about all the different ways you can get your money now there we go.
All right, super. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Josh to the rescue.
Sort of maybe, okay. And a minimum number of checks. And that is that if you get the single life annuity, the checks come until you're dead. With the minimum number of checks, you're getting a guarantee of how many months that's going to come. So let's talk about the single life annuity. The single life annuity is you get a check every month until you're dead, and then it stops. And that's kind of what people think about when they think about a pension. And a payment every month is an annuity, and for life, and because it's going to stop when you're dead. So it's a life annuity, and it's for one life, yours. So again, single life annuity. And the PBGC, of course, calls that the straight life annuity. And the SLA is the normal form of benefit. What do I mean by normal? Well, a couple of things. It's what a lot of people who are electing their pension elect is the single life annuity. So in that respect, it's normal. And the other thing that's normal about it is that you remember when we were talking about way back at the beginning about calculating how much I need to save every year so that I got enough money on the day I retire?
Mm-hmm.
The company has to do that same thing when they're trying to determine how much to put away every paycheck so that when it's time to pay you your pension, that it is out there.
They think that they know how long we're all going to live.
Yes, they do think they know, yeah. Which may explain some of the crew meals. But anyway, okay, that was cruel. True, but cruel. So they have to determine how long you're going to live, what form of benefit you're going to take, and they assume you're going to take the single life annuity. So that's the normal form of benefit. So when they're calculating out your pension and how much they have to pay, they use that number. The value of your single life annuity is then used to determine all the other payments. Well, what about those other options? Well, it's nice to share. And it's a pension for your life and someone else's life as well. And I do remind you, it is nice to share. They'll get an annuity for their life after you're gone. You never get 2 checks at the same month. So you die, they survived you. So we're going to call it the survivor annuity. And remember, it's still the same big pile of money. We're just slicing it up differently. So you can choose to leave them 50 to 100% of what you're getting, not your single life annuity amount, but your share of the joint and survivor annuity. But here's the problem. The more you leave them, the less you get.
What?
Well, yeah. So, yeah. Well, I guess I have to leave them something. I mean, otherwise Buzzle's going to be living under a bridge. So I'm just going to go ahead and take less while I'm alive. So they've got something when I'm gone. Uh-oh. But what happens if they die first? Well,
Uh-oh.
crap. I'm stuck with the lower monthly amount. I could have had more, but I was covering bozo. So I think the technical term is you're screwed. However, that's just a risk you have to take, but there is a way to cover that risk.
Did you turn it off an accident?
Let's turn it off and turn it back on. When in doubt, reboot.
We're rebooting.
We did that with the 7.8 the other day. But there is a way to cover that risk. Flight attendants have another option, the pop-up option. And by taking a slightly lower amount each month, you can cover the risk that the joint annuitant dies first. With the pop-up option, the month after they're dead, you pop back up to the single life annuity as though you never made the joint annuitant option.
Cool.
Yeah, and the price of that is dependent on the age difference between you and the joint annuitant. And for some, depending on the age difference, it can be a pretty cheap insurance. Because, yeah, I know you married that 38-year-old pool boy. Go girl. But, life's uncertain. Chlorine accidents happen. They're a whole lot more annoying than when you were gone 3 days a week. So, yeah. So most people that take a joint survivor add this pop-up option in, talk to your financial planner. And most people are going to take one of these two options, the single life annuity or the joint survivor, but there are other options. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. And the other option is the guaranteed period certain. And that says that the checks come for a minimum of 10, 15, or 20 years, LAA, or 5, 10, or 15 years, LUS. It's not very common that people take this because you're going to be getting less to ensure that checks come for that long, even if you die beforehand. There are some very strange circumstances, but you should know what's out there. About the only people I've ever seen that do this is people that know they're going to be dead very soon. I have something terminal, and yet I want someone to get this benefit, but they're much younger, and therefore the joint survivor would be very, very low. So this gives a survivor something.
For example, you have a kid and you want to make sure they can get through college if something happens to you.
Excellent example. And LAA has a fourth option, which is level income option, more upfront, less later. And this is for the really unusual circumstance where when your Social Security and your pension are together, that you're going to have enough to survive, but the Social Security hasn't kicked in yet, and you're not going to be able to survive on your pension. American says, well, we've got a deal for you. We will give you more now and then less after 62 when Social Security kicks in, or your Social Security normal retirement age, whatever that's, 66, 67. And they claim it's actuarially sound. I don't know that it is, but if you need the money now because you have to pay the rent, it may be an option. Again, not very many people take this. It's not really very good. So question is, I know how to retire with that form. How do I apply for my pension? Well, no earlier than 90 days before you start your pension. You mean like 90 days before I leave America? No. 90 days before you start your pension. Remember, some people leave at 55 and not going to start their pension until 65. So no earlier. You mean later? No earlier than 90 days before you want to start your pension. You can request a kit over the phone from the AA Pension Service Center of Fidelity by calling the 800 number. And when the AI bot speaks to you, say pensions, and you'll eventually get there. Or online, you can go to Net Benefits, go to the LAA pension, click on collect and follow the prompts. If you have an LUS or PBGC pension, you can contact the PBGC directly, and you do that at the 800 number, or go to pbgc.gov, and you want to sign up for an account on there, and it's called a PBA account. Why don't I use that? Yeah, my PBA account. And actually, you should go ahead and do that now. If you're eligible for a PBGC pension, go ahead and set up the My PBA account now. That way, if you have any bumps in the road getting that together, like they have to mail you a letter to prove you're you, you'll have it all set up. So go ahead and set that up now.
And it's always a good idea on that when you're looking at, talking to either a Fidelity or PBGC about starting your pension, if you pull up your pension estimate or look at it online while you're talking to them, they can explain all the different options to you if the options seem confusing. So lots of people look at the thing online and call at the same time.
Are there taxes on pensions? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Another bummer.
You pay federal tax on pensions as ordinary income. Remember, we talked about that 10 to 37% rate. Here's the 2025 rates. So most of us are going to be up in the 22% bracket, some maybe in the 12, and a couple lucky people are going to be in that 24% bracket. So you're going to pay federal income tax on your pension as ordinary income. So that may inform you about when in the year you want to start your pension and so on to determine your bracket. And some states don't tax pension. 14 states don't tax pension or only tax a portion of the state pension, which is 4 states. Again, where you live in retirement may impact how much of your income you get to keep. Now, remember, these figures are for a mythical flight attendant. Your mileage may vary, and these are not for you. So, Kim, you got some pension tips for us?
Got some pension tips. Basically, pension kits can be requested, as Patrick mentioned, from AA, which is Fidelity, or the PBGC, no more than 90 days out from the date you tell them you are going to retire. And that would also be technically your pension benefit commencement date. Pensions always start on the first of a calendar month. You want to be done with your last trip before the end of the previous month. In theory, PBS should take you off anything that touches your retirement date after you submit that retirement notification form. However, if you're bidding for something that comes in maybe 2 days before or the day before you retire and there's a delay or something, if you end up working into the month that you're supposed to be retired, that will delay the start of your pension. So you might want to give yourself a few days fudge factor when you're bidding. So a fly-through trip that can't be dropped, or a fly-through trip that you didn't plan on because it wasn't supposed to be a fly-through trip, yes, that will delay your pension commencement date by a month. All right, more pension tips. You have to have copies of all divorce decrees and quadros. If you don't have those, if you were married while you were earning that pension income, they want to see a copy of the divorce decree that specifically either says that your ex doesn't get part of your pension, or they do, God forbid, no, or that they don't mention it at all. If it's not mentioned, then the ex doesn't get part of it. So
all of my divorce decrees?
All of your divorce decrees. If you were married more than once, now if you were married and divorced before you came to the company where you earned that pension, don't worry about that one. But if you were married 2 or more times and while you were earning that pension income, yes, you do need to have all of the divorce decrees or death certificates if you're a widow or a widower. So if you don't have those things, basically you could experience a delay in the start of your pension. They'll usually retro pay you back to the date when you were going to start your pension, but they'll not start paying you until they have all that paperwork that they need. And the first month you start your pension is always paid retroactively. It's usually about 4 to 6 weeks following your retirement date, at least for the LAA pensions, because they wait until they get a message from the company that you actually retired before Fidelity will actually process your pension. A lot of people do change their minds, so they don't want to start paying you your pension and then find out you decided to retire a few months later or something. All right. The qualified pre-retirement survivor annuity. This is a very useful thing. Unfortunately, it's only for the legacy AA flight attendants. But basically, federal law says your spouse automatically gets a 50% joint and survivor annuity if you pass away before you commence your pension benefits. This QIPSA, which is a form that you can access through the Fidelity website, allows you to say you want to leave 100% or 100% joint and survivor annuity to your spouse if you were to die before you start your pension. So, most people who are married would rather leave their spouse 100% joint and survivor annuity than a 50% joint and survivor annuity.
What if you don't like your husband?
Well, then you can have to at least leave them 50%,
Okay.
but you don't have to bump it up to 100% if you don't want to. So, the form can be found, as I mentioned, netbenefits.com/AA, which is the Fidelity website. And flight attendants are the only work group in the company that get this benefit without paying for it. If you talk to a pilot, they'll say, don't do the QIPSA form, it's going to reduce your pension. But it doesn't for us. It was a negotiated benefit that we don't have to pay for. And oh yeah, you have to have been married at least a year. So you can't get married on your deathbed in order to leave somebody your pension. Wish you could, but it doesn't work that way. You can put your friend down, if you retire and start your pension, you can put anybody down as a joint annuitant, but this is in the event that you were to pass away before you commence your pension benefits. All right, any questions about pensions? And we've got a few. So one is, does AA know of any retirement specialists or advisors for hire that they can recommend to its members? I already had a financial advisor, but I'd like someone specifically knowledgeable about the flight attendant profession to help me meet my goals.
The ones that come to mind are the American Airlines Federal Credit Union has a financial planning department that they're all American Airlines employees. So they're all in the same 401k plan. And if you're a member of the credit union, and the department's called Flagship Financial Group, they will advise you for no fee. That it's just a benefit of being a member of the credit union. And because everyone they work with is an American Airlines employee or somehow associated with the credit union, then they're pretty knowledgeable about our job and our benefits.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. They're kind of a financial advisor, but they might have a little bit more flight attendant specific knowledge than your average Joe. Yeah. And also, you can call us if you're just wanting to know, like, timeline wise, when should you do something if you plan to retire on such and such a date, and we can sort of help steer you in the right direction. We may not be an expert in some of these areas, but we can kind of point you in the right direction if you want to give us a call or email. Okay, so next is what happens to our pensions? This is Legacy AA because the PBGC pensions are already held by the PBGC, and it doesn't matter if AA goes bankrupt, but for the Legacy AA pensions, this person's wants to know what would happen if AA declares bankruptcy. Are the pensions protected or would we lose them?
The pensions are protected through the PBGC. And we've been through that. We've seen this show before. We've been through this. And in order for the pension to be, and I'm going to use the verb dumped on the PBGC for Americans to escape their responsibilities that they committed to all these years, they would need to convince the bankruptcy judge that they could not possibly survive on the other side of bankruptcy if they had to continue to pay into the pension plan.
So one, they'd have to go back to the bankruptcy judge.
One, they have to go bankrupt. Number two, they have to convince the judge that they cannot survive on the other side of bankruptcy if they have to continue to fund the pensions. They weren't able to do that last time. We came to an agreement where we froze the pensions so that the liability stopped growing, but the liability is still there and it's still in the Americans' control and responsibility. And for most purposes, that's better than if it went to the PBGC.
And then if the bankruptcy judge said, yes, you can dump the pensions because AA is still paying PBGC premiums, the pensions would go to the PBGC at that point. So you have a couple of layers of protection there. Nothing's ever 100% safe and secure, but in all likelihood, if the worst came to the worst, it would go to the PBGC, just like the Legacy US Airways pensions, the TWA pensions have before, and we would be claiming our pensions from the PBGC and not from the State Street Bank Trust Fund, which is administered by Fidelity. Okay, so here's another question. If one is in good health and capable of doing the job and chooses not to retire, is there an age that the company must start paying the pension after one reaches 75 or 80 years old? And this is, again, applying to the Legacy AA pensions. So there's not a certain age,
No.
but do you want to go into the kind
Sure.
of parameters of that little loophole we mentioned earlier?
There is this weird thing in the pension that says if you don't start your pension by age 70 and a half, we will start adding additional credits to it called delayed pension, delayed benefit credits. So the simple way to think about that is after 70 and a half, your pension starts to go up
Very gradually.
very gradually.
Yeah,
But just like your Social Security, if you don't claim it, it goes up after your full retirement age. That after 70 and a half, your pension will start to go up. Well, why does that matter?
it's not as dramatic as
It's
with
not as
Social
dramatic. Yes,
Security.
yeah. But it, it's still going up. Why does that matter? Well, the reason it matters is that there is this way over in tax law, there's this rule that says that your pension can never be more than your income. Well, that's weird. Why would you do that? Well, because the Robert Isams of the world decided that they would save on paying taxes now. I'll work for $1 a year, but when I retire, you're going to pay me $10 million a year in pension. And the IRS said, oh, no. All that's doing is avoiding giving us our money now. So they have this rule that says your pension can never be more than your income, which seems fair. Go back to my pension is growing. Well, my pension may have started out to be pretty good. We had some people who were flying careful games and everything to make sure that their pension got maximized. And if they have a really good pension and it starts growing, and our income is pretty variable. I could fly 150 hours a month. I could fly 40 hours a month. So if your income averaged over
3 years.
3 years gets below on a monthly basis your pension, well, all of a sudden you're in violation of that rule. And the solution to that is they make you start your pension so that it stops growing. And we have, 8 people now?
Maybe, I mean, there's usually no more than half a dozen to a dozen a year that fall into that loophole.
Yeah.
And you don't get to say, hey, my income went up this month. I'm going to call the company and claim. They're doing an audit of your income after you hit age 70 and a half to see if your gradual increase to your pension triggers that IRS ruling that you fall into. So if you hit that, they call it hitting the IRS 141 or something like that, you will get a letter from the company and they'll tell you, you have to start taking your pension as of a certain date.
Yeah.
So again, if you're one of the lucky ones that can do that, great, but it's not something you can call and request. And it's not a certain age. It's just when your numbers hit that little amount and it triggers, that letter from the company because of the little audit they do of your income after a certain age.
Yeah.
All right. And then there was one other one in this category. It's kind of like they wanted to know if during the seminar we'd have the option to discuss age 62 early retirement plan. We talked about taking your Social Security early at age 62. Is there anything else you can think of in terms, there's the age 62 level income option for the pensions. You talked about that. I would guess I'd say to this person, if you have any other questions about retiring early at age 62, call us or email us and we'll try and answer those questions.
Yeah, for retirement, it's going to be the 65-point plan. Do you meet it? And you could meet that at age 45.
Mhm.
Age 45 with 20 years of seniority, you're eligible to retire at age 45. If you're talking about pensions, I think some of the LUS pensions had a 62 for full.
there was a age 62 Social Security offset. for
Offset,
the-
yes.
So
So,
if you retire after age 62 and you have a legacy, well, no, it's not based on when you retire, it's based on if you started your pension prior to age 62, they're going to reduce it when you hit age 62, unless you chose this option where they average it all together and the amount doesn't change.
Okay.
So there was a Social Security offset built into the legacy US Airways pensions.
so we're guessing at your question. If we
Yeah.
didn't answer it, please drop drop it back in the chat with a little more clarity.
Or email us or call us.
That's right.
Okay, so next will be medical insurance options. I guess I'm up. So the medical insurance options after you retire include COBRA, which you see from the dollar signs, it's expensive. COBRA's expensive. The AA retiree medical insurance we talked about earlier, it's even more expensive. So most people, if they're not yet 65, don't choose this because it's super expensive. Affordable Care Act, you can go to healthcare.gov and see what's available. Medicare, that's the option most people wait for at age 65 or earlier if you're eligible because of a disability. The old-fashioned way, you can marry someone with insurance or go on your spouse's insurance, die young, but we don't like that option. None of us like that option, not going to happen. So let's talk a little about COBRA. Basically, COBRA is a way to continue the exact same health insurance that you had as an active employee. You don't have to establish your deductible. So it's not really you're going on COBRA. Basically, you're staying on the same insurance. You're just paying the full price now. Before you went on COBRA, you were active, the company was paying 80%, you were paying 20%. When you switch over to COBRA, it's the exact same plan, but you're paying 100% plus a 2% admin fee. Coverage will last for 18 months. If you're disabled and you get if you qualify for COBRA due to your disability, you could get an extension of 11 months. So it could be for up to 29 months if you're on Social Security disability. It must be taken in the first 60 days of leaving the company or the triggering event for COBRA. So sometimes the event is leaving the company, and that's what we're talking about now, retirement. However, if you are already on COBRA because you've been off on unpaid sick or medical for more than 12 months, you're not going to get another COBRA solicitation. You get basically one COBRA based on whatever event it was that triggered the COBRA solicitation. And it's a one-shot deal. So if you miss your chance to sign up for COBRA, which is about a 60-day window, then they're not going to come back and offer it to you again. So more about COBRA. It can include medical, dental, vision, and flexible spending accounts, and you can mix and match. So a lot of retirees that are going on Medicare, I'd say probably 90%, they don't choose the medical because they're going on Medicare, but they decide to keep their dental and vision for another 18 months with the COBRA, because lots of the options for dental and vision once you're retired and on Medicare aren't that great. They're getting better, but a lot of people still use their COBRA to cover their medical and dental for the first 18 months. Once the coverage begins, it's retroactive to the date that you leave American Airlines. So say I retired on March 1st and I don't get signed up for COBRA until March 15th. It's not going to start on March 15th. It's going to go back to March 1st, and it will be as though you've had continuous coverage. So you don't get to go, oh, I'll wait the 60 days and start it then. Even if you did it on the 59th day, it's going to go back to the date of your retirement. Payments, you don't want to be late or your coverage will be dropped. They're pretty picky about this. So if you can set it up as a direct debit or something, that's a good idea, so you won't be late. All right. Oh, and one last thing, if you're eligible for Medicare, guess what? COBRA is not considered to be creditable coverage as an alternative to Medicare. So don't go, oh, I haven't had a chance to sign up for Medicare. I'm just going to go on COBRA for a couple of months. It doesn't work that way. If you're eligible for Medicare and you delay signing up for it, COBRA is just going to pay as though you have Medicare. It's going to pay as though it's secondary to Medicare. So you're going to be kind of screwed if you try and do that. So don't do it. COBRA is always secondary to Medicare, even if you haven't signed up for it. All right, now we're going to talk about the AA retiree medical insurance. That's the really expensive one. And in order to even be eligible for it, you have to be between ages 55 and 65 and eligible for the 65-point plan. The participant pays the full cost, and the price is very unstable. It's not capped. It actually doubled in 2015, and it's super expensive. So here's going to kind of go through it. The retiree medical insurance rates for 2026. But first, we'll show you the coverage. It's really good coverage. I mean, you don't see anything like this anymore. You know, basically $150 deductible, $1,000 out-of-pocket max. It sounds great.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. But per person, for one person in a month, it's $2,563. And that actually went down about $200 from last year. I think this is the first time since I've been doing this that I've ever seen it go down.
Yeah.
But it's still crazy, 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 crazy. So now that our emotional support goat has fainted at the sight of these prices, as I would too, here's some other options. Basically, go to healthcare.gov and look at the Affordable Care Act options. It varies from state to state. You might be eligible for tax credits if your income's low enough. So something to think about. VIA Benefits is a company that contracts with American Airlines. And if you're looking for Medicare plans, you're kind of not knowing what you should do, you can call VIA Benefits if you're 65 or older, and they'll help you find Medicare plans in your state. If you're under 65 and you're looking for insurance options, they will walk you through all the different Affordable Care Act plans in your state. So it's in the back of our packet. There's different number for over 65 and under 65, and you go to myviabenefits.com/American Airlines. All right, Medicare.
Medicare. Let's talk about Medicare.
Talk about Medicare.
The most common question we get in relation to insurance is, I or my spouse am turning 65. Do I have to go to Medicare? The answer is no. And people say, but my sister says, but I read on the internet.
You're gonna get penalized.
I'm gonna get penalized. You will not. If you go to the Medicare and You book,
The Medicare Bible, Medicare and You.
or you go to the Medicare.gov and pull it up, you will find that if you have active employer insurance, and it always gets a little asterisk about more than 20 employees, that you will not have to go to Medicare, even Part A. That, and there may be reasons for you to not go to Medicare. There are some insurance or savings products, for instance, the health savings account, which allows you to save money while you're working to pay for health care, which you get to take that money with you. It's not like an FSA, use it or lose it. You get to take it with you. And a lot of people love that, being able to save tax deferred, because you get a triple tax benefit when you finally use it.
And the HSA is actual money in an account, unlike the RHRA.
Correct. So,
Because you're contributing.
if you sign up for Part A, even when you don't need it, they won't let you do the HSA anymore. So you don't have to. So don't do it.
And in some cases, I've heard if you have TRICARE, you might have to sign up for Part A.
Yeah.
So if you're eligible for TRICARE, call them and check, because most cases it doesn't matter whether or not you sign up for Part A, but having the HSA or being eligible for TRICARE may, have rules one way or the other. And you need to check on that if you're eligible for TRICARE. They might want you to sign up for Part A. So.
When you do finally get to Medicare, Medicare is either traditional Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan, which is kind of a privatized version of Medicare. And if you're in the traditional plan, it's got a Part A, a Part B, a Part D. Part A is the original Medicare from the 1930s. It covers hospitalization. Part B was established when we realized that it was the other things like doctor's visits and laboratories, tests that were driving costs. So Part B covers that kind of stuff. And Part D is the most recent one, and it's D for drugs. It covers your prescription medication. Now, the problem is that a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to pay for Medicare because I'm not sick. I don't need it. And they don't sign up when they turn 65 or when their active employer coverage ends. And they wait until they're sick. And well, that's not the way insurance works. So they've imposed this penalty. If you don't sign up when you're supposed to, and for a lot of people, that's age 65. For those of us that work past 65, it's when our active employer insurance ends. Then if you don't sign up, they will charge you a penalty, and that penalty goes for the rest of your life. So wait, if I work till 70 and then I go sign up for Medicare, how do they know that I had creditable coverage from my active employment insurance? And that's because there's a form.
There's a form for that.
Form CMSL 564. There's a form, and that form looks like this. And how do you get that form?
You can get it from Medicare.gov.
Okay.
But guess what? In most cases, you don't even need to get it. You just call the Benefits Service Center and say, hey, I need the Medicare employment verification form, and they will fill it out and they will email it to you in your secure mailbox in the Benefits Service Center. So you have to go on, click on Benefits on JetNet and click on Benefits Service Center. It will take you to where you go when you're doing your benefits enrollment. And there's a little bell, and that if you click on the bell, there's an email box where they put all your secure messages and they send it there. And it's much quicker than the old way where you used to have to fax it to them. Who has a fax anymore? And then you wait for them to snail mail it back to you. Usually it takes a week to 10 days. They say it can take up to 4 weeks, but I've been seeing quicker response from the benefits people lately on this. So you just print it out, you write your social security number on it because they don't like to put your social on anything that they're sending to by email, even if it's in a secure mailbox, and then what do you do to sign up?
Yeah, and then you take that form and it goes to Medicare, and it's right on there. It says where to send the form. And that will mean that you're not going to be penalized for not having started at 65 because you had creditable coverage. So one of the problems with Medicare is that it's an 80-20 plan. So I go into the hospital and I have $1 million worth of work done. Medicare is going to cover that 80%, but that means the 20%, the $200,000, I'm on the hook for. And most of us can't take that kind of hit. So there's a fourth thing called a Medigap policy. It covers that gap that Medicare doesn't cover. And the other thing with Medicare is there's no out-of-pocket max. So if you have $20 million, your 20% is going to get ridiculous because there's no out-of-pocket max. And there are 10 different Medigap plans available that's kind of standardized, that Blue Cross offers these 10 plans, Anthem offers these 10 plans, Aetna offers it, and that's just, so you're comparing apples to apples. And you can go and compare. If you look in our Good Slide handout, you'll see a description of each of those 10 plans. AA retirees have an 11th option. It's a Medigap VIBA plan, and we have information about that in the Good Slide as well. It was created specifically for retired airline workers. I don't know that's any better or any worse, but it's different enough that you really want to look at it. Some of these plans cover travel out of the country. Do flight attendants travel out of the country? Yeah, we do. Yeah, tend to, yeah. Some of them cover, cover 100%. There's no deductible, except they're really expensive. So you want to look at them all and determine which one's going to be best for you. Now, if all of these parts is difficult for you to get, there's a part C, also called an advantage plan, and that's that privatized alternate to classic Medicare I was talking about. And my best suggestion for that is consult a Medicare advisor. They will help you go through all of the available Medicare plans, Advantage plans. And there are some really good descriptions of those plans on AARP, although they are selling their own. So take it what they say with a grain of salt, and also on Medicare.gov, they can tell you what's available in your
And one of
area.
those Medicare advisors that you mentioned is VIA Benefits
Yes.
that consults with AA. There's several others, Boomer Benefits, Select Quote Senior. So you just kind of have to find one. I always say if you have a friend or a relative that went on Medicare recently and they liked their advisor, that's a good place to start.
Yeah. All right. Kim, what else do I need to research?
Okay, so those annoying little details that you need to research, just, may or may not apply to you, but we'll take a look. So, life events, optional insurance such as, Hyatt Legal or pet insurance, dental insurance, flexible spending. Okay, so let's talk about life events. Basically, it's really important to remember that your retirement is your spouse or your partner's life event. So if you're planning on going on their plan when you retire, your retirement date is the life event for them to have the window to add you to their insurance. They have 30 days, sometimes 60 days to file the life event and make changes, adding you to their coverage. So you don't want to miss that window. If you're married and you're going on your AA spouse's insurance, remember that it's not like COBRA where it's just a continuation of the same plan you are on. They're looking at it like you're starting a new plan. So if you switch to a spouse's benefits under AA, your deductibles and out-of-pocket maxes will reset. So keep that in mind. That's why, like the question about retiring at the end of the year, some people like to finish out their own coverage at the end of the year and then retire on January 1st and switch over to their spouse's coverage. So if they've met the deductibles and everything, they're starting fresh. Just another option for people. So now we're going to talk about optional insurance. Examples are MetLife Legal, long-term care, home and auto policies, pet insurance. All of these you can keep. You actually are on an individual policy already, but you're just going to have to call the AA added benefits people and get the numbers for all these people. We also have them in the back of our packet because you want to set up a direct bill for them. We're not going to have payroll deduction anymore. And if you want to keep them, you still have to pay for them, but you are eligible to keep those coverages. Employee life insurance and accident insurance ends, that you are given the option to port or convert these into an individual policy within 30 to 60 days after you retire. So good thing is it doesn't require a physical exam or any health questions to qualify for the life insurance because you already have it. And you would contact New York Life for the AD&D and the voluntary personal accident insurance and MetLife for the life insurance. They are more expensive usually after you convert them from the group policy under AA to individual policy. So keep that in mind. Do you really need life insurance? You have to decide that, but they do get more expensive. Some people choose to convert a lower amount because you don't have to, if you've been buying up every year and you have, 8 times your pay or something, you may not need that much. So some people just convert a lower amount to an individual policy, and you do have that option. All right, long-term and short-term disability coverage will end when you retire, but if you're receiving long or short-term disability benefits at the time of your retirement and you're still disabled, then those benefits can continue post-retirement. So Just because your coverage ends doesn't mean your benefits will end if you're still eligible for those benefits and you're already out on a claim and receiving the benefits. And so, yeah, like I said, payments from MetLife will continue if you're eligible. All right, dental insurance, yikes. So dental insurance has been scary. It's getting better. It's weird that nobody seems to want to take care of your teeth after you retire, because everybody knows now that it's a really important factor in your general health state, So you want to keep taking care of your teeth. AA will offer you retiree dental insurance. You'll get a solicitation for this. Don't get confused about this versus the COBRA. COBRA is a continuation of the same coverage you had. This is a different product. It's not a very good product. It's high dollar, low benefit. Most people don't take it. So another option is the AA Credit Union has a dental club you can join through Benefit Services of America. It's not really insurance, it's a discount network. And if you join the network, you can get reduced rates if you go to the participating providers. And Costco has something similar that a lot of people sign up for. Or you can go to dental school. I actually talked to somebody recently that did this. They say they do a good job, and it is an option. If you have a dental school in your area, you'll get a student will be doing your dental work, but they'll be monitored by a dental professor. So, go for it if that's an option. Also, some of the Medicare supplement plans and the Medicare Advantage plans now have dental options that you can choose to go along with those plans. So if you're talking to one of the Medicare advisors about benefits, ask them if there's any dental coverage that they offer. All right, your flex spending. So every year when you do your flex spending, they say you got to use it or lose it. So if you don't use it by the end of the year, well, guess what? If it's more than $500, then you're going to lose that amount. However, when you retire, it's an option to have AA lose it, because you're doing a monthly deposit. You don't put the whole amount in right away at the beginning of the year. So if you retire before the end of the year and you use your full FSA balance, you haven't made all the deposits to put that money in your account, but you're still entitled to use it all. If you use it all in the first 3 months of the year, for instance, and then retire, AA is going to have to eat the rest of it. You're not going to have to keep making those deposits after you retire. So if you've got some big health expense, and that's one reason to kind of retire the first quarter of the year or the middle of the year for some people. Like we said, people's circumstances vary, and this may be an important deal for some people. So anyway, I think that's about wrapping it up when it comes to the little extra things you want to think about. So now it's your turn to decide if you're ready to retire.
One of the good things is there are a lot of moving pieces to retirement, but I know your job as a flight attendant, and
we know
there's nothing you can't handle in retirement. Think about everything we do on an airplane every day. There's just all of these hundreds of little things that we handle and take care of to keep our passengers safe. And I know you can do this. And what else do you need to do before you leave? Hey, I recommend just start a list. And a good place to start a list is go to the Good Slide handout. And on page 37, you will find the basis of a list. You can make this your base list and add things to you that are specific to you, to your list. How do you follow a list? Have you been to CQ recently? How do you follow a list? One step at a time, in order, just like the planned emergency checklist. I like to think of it as kind of a planned departure checklist, and it will work wonders in terms of keeping you on track and organized. And more importantly, one of the scariest things is you don't know what you don't know. And therefore, if you have a list in front of you, you're not wandering around going, well, what am I missing? Everyone complains this is so difficult, and yet I seem to be clicking off through this list pretty quickly. Having the list will give you comfort in knowing you're not missing anything. And lastly, how many times have you retired before?
The answer is
Never.
probably zero. Yes, yes. You've never done this before. So don't be afraid to ask questions.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we are here for. And like I said at the beginning, both APFA and American and an awful lot of industries out there are putting a lot of time and energy and effort into helping people retire and be ready to retire. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Kim's got an amazing knowledge base. And more importantly, if you ask us a question and we don't know the answer, we know where to start looking. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. You're prepared. You've got this. You're ready.
Yay.
Let's go. Good slide.
Maybe.
Maybe. This exit blocked.
No. Yay. Good slide.
Good slide. Hey, Kim, you got questions for us?
We do. And you guys, we went a little over. It's a little after 1, so you have to drop off. We understand, but we're going to try and answer the additional questions that we have here. So first one is it necessary to, we did that one, the 401k. Is it necessary to stop all contributions prior? No. What is an RHRA? How will it change your RHRA if you leave earlier than 4 months? I mean, if you don't give 4 months notice, and you have the RHRA with the plus plan that you got for signing up for that insurance plan, you don't have to give the 4 months notice.
Yeah.
If you want the RHRA that is funded by your sick time, 50% of the full value of your sick time, you have to give the 4 months notice or you will not be eligible for that RHRA. So, and the RHRA stands for Retiree Health Reimbursement Arrangement. It is it's a reimbursement account, and you have some money in it, and you can use that money to get reimbursed for eligible health expenses. So that's what, and a lot of people, it started out, we got it first with the VOPS, and most of the people that took those VOPS I find it to be a very helpful benefit. If you have a bunch of sick time and there's no way you're ever going to use it, then it's a good option for you. By all means, if you have a reason to use that sick time before you go for a legitimate reason, that's going to get you 100% of the value of your sick time. But if your only option is to get paid out at $8.65 per sick hour or take the RHRA, I'd probably take the RHRA.
Yeah.
And I calculated it at the top of the pay scale, which is now $84.50 an hour. Even if you have 40 hours left in your sick bank, it's more than $1,000 that's going to go into your RHRA. So even if you have not that much sick time, it might be worth it to still put in for the RHRA and put it in 4 months in advance, just in case. You can always rescind your retirement and change your mind or whatever. But okay, so more about the RHRA. They were asking about the RHRA that you get the money through Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I did say, if you have the RHRA that's linked to the plus plan, you do not have to give the 4 months notice. You're going to get that no matter what. You got that for signing up for the plus plan. And then, so there are 2 different ways the RHRA is funded, either by signing up through the plus plan or giving 4 months notice to the company, and it's funded from 50% of the value of your sick time. 2 different ways. 2 different RHRAs. You can have one or the other or both. If you have both, they're going to be combined after you retire. Are we allowed to bring a companion on our last retirement flight, and are they given positive space? No, you can bring a companion. They're not given positive space. So they only get on if there's space available, and the company's not going to help you with that. It's kind of going to be up to you to list them and bring them along. I see on my Fidelity account, if I retire about 2 years into the future, I'm now 72, my pension payment will increase about $100 to $250 a month. Good for you. Is this true? I thought it was frozen. So this was the actual actuarial increase we addressed earlier. After age 70 and a half for the legacy AA pensions, there's a very gradual monthly increase to your pension amount. So if you know, you're over 70, like this person is 72, and they look out into the future, if they look 2 years out, they're going to see one amount. If they look 3 years out, they're going to see another amount. If that amount gets bigger than their average take-home pension for the last 3 years, the
So-
company's going to call them and say, you have to start taking your pension now. So call us if you have more questions about that. Okay, when working past age 70, if any of your earned income exceeds any of the original credits used to figure your Social Security, do you get the option to have them refigure your Social Security?
Great question.
Good question.
So I'm flying 100 hours a month, a little bit over. I'm making $90,000 a year, which is a whole lot more than I was making when I was a new hire 35 years ago. And I'm taking my Social Security because I'm at, it's time. Does my Social Security get readjusted because now I have a higher year? Yes, it does. It's not going to be dramatic because they look at 35 years. And so your lowest year is going to drop off, your new higher year is going to go on. But it's 1/35th. So it will go up. Yeah, it's not like you're losing it, but often you don't see that because on January 1st, your Social Security goes up because of the cost of living increase. If you look at the detail in that report, it will also show you that your base amount went up because they recalculated your earnings.
Do they do that automatically?
They do that automatically.
Okay. All right. Can I take a full pension if I'm still working? What is the IRS rule? The company's going to call you and tell you if you're eligible for that. And if you want more information about it, I can send you some little details about it. Email me at retirement@apfa.org. With regard to the 65-point retirement program, how does my date or age of retirement get effective if I've been out on a medical leave? Medical leave will not reduce your company's seniority. Intermittent family leave will not reduce your company seniority. So this is based on your company seniority. I think the only thing that would reduce your company seniority is being furloughed. Is
Being
that correct?
furloughed and is it educational leave?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe educational leave or a personal, not a bid leave that's offered by the company, but if you go QI and, you don't go to training before they fire you, then that time could reduce your company seniority. So I think some kind of personal leave that's not approved or offered by the company and being furloughed and maybe an educational leave.
Yeah, I think those are the only things that reduce your company seniority. It's actually really, really hard to lose.
So medical leave will not, and being on maternity will not, and
Bid
being
leave doesn't.
being on an IOD will not reduce that. So, okay, where do we get the booklet you're talking about? The Good Slide retirement packet. It's something we put together here at APFA. It's not something you need to go through and fill some things out in order to retire. It's just informational, but it's a lot of good information. We're proud of it. And if you want a copy, you can email retirement@apfa.org, or you can call the union at 817-540-0108 and request a copy. And and somebody is also asking, pension income is not taxable by Social Security. Pension income is taxable. I don't know, by the IRS, not by Social
Right.
Security.
You pay Social Security on wages, and a pension isn't wages. It's income for taxation purposes, but it's not wages for Social Security and Medicare deductions.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions. If you have anything else, reach out to us. And we want to thank you very much for joining us today. We're sorry we had a few technical glitches, and we're sorry we went over a little bit, but a lot of good questions. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Goodbye.